All right, we can get started if you want to. So thank you everybody for joining us this morning in our small business comeback forum. It's been almost, I want to say a year. I think it's April of last year we did the last one. Very different, so we used to meet once a month. Now it's virtual because of all the regulations and restrictions in place due to the pandemic. This is also the perfect opportunity to see the importance of having an online presence and just be able to, take advantage of e-commerce. And Rich here, it's definitely an expert in that field, and hopefully he could enlighten us with some knowledge that would definitely help us improve our e-commerce and then make us, overcome some of the restrictions that we have. If you guys could take a couple seconds and just introduce yourself, kind of what type of business you are in, and yeah. So, Robert, if you want to start.
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name's Robert Puentez. I am the fitness guru. I sell a high-protein cookie called the Gorilla Cookie. I started out selling weights like this. Now we have about 6 different fitness products we sell. Because of the epidemic, people are scared to go to a gym. So we kind of tell them you can have the stuff at home. You just have to have the education of how to use it. So that's what we're doing.
Thank you. Gloria?
Hi, my name is Gloria, and I'm with the City of Indio, and I just recently received my BA from CSUSB for Business Administration and Entrepreneurship. So my eyes are open and see what my next step is.
Awesome. Hi, Bruce?
Bruce Bonham, I'm with Avis & Young Commercial Real Estate, relocated from Minnesota about 1.5 years ago, and I'm involved with owners and in leasing and selling their properties and assisting corporations that are moving, growing, and so forth.
Awesome. And Wally, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yes, I'm Wally Baker. I own an online marketing and a credit card collection site where you can, nonprofits and political campaigns, anyone really, we collect their donations and process them. And we're looking to kind of reposition ourselves in the next 6 months to a year. I've been in the desert about 2 years, and I spent a long time working for the LA Economic Development Corporation in Los Angeles, and then moved out here and absolutely love it. Thank you.
Awesome. Janet, can you introduce yourself real quick?
Good morning, Janet Malakowski with the Relationship Group at Morgan Stanley. We're wealth advisors. Our office is on El Paseo and Palm Desert. I used to attend these monthly meetings quite regularly over the years, and very excited that you're hosting Zoom events. It's what we have to do to keep in touch with each other and evolve to the conditions that we're in right now.
All right, thank you. Al?
Good morning. I'm an independent retired business executive. Always like to keep up to date on what's happening in the Valley. So this seems to be another one of your great, interesting topics. So looking forward to hearing what we have to say today.
Awesome, nice to have you. All right, well, my name is Augustine Aragon. I'm with CVEP, and Laura also with CVEP. We have Rich Henrich and Paul Gonzalez. They're with Rook SEO. So, all right.
Thanks, Augustine. I really appreciate that. Thanks, everyone, for coming in this morning through Zoom to us. Often makes it a little bit easier to just roll out of bed or be at the office and turn the computer on and attend by Zoom. That's one nice thing that's going to come out of this, although many of us have Zoom exhaustion, just from logging in so many meetings just by Zoom. It really kind of takes us back to what we really miss and appreciate that we didn't even know, which is just interaction with each other. And I think, part of having a business is being able to interact with your community, with your customers. Not having that, not knowing what to do, really makes things frustrating. It was about a year ago in March. I was in Aspen, Colorado. I went to go see Lyle Lovett perform, and a friend of mine's good friends with Lyle, and we had a great time. And we get out of the show, and all of a sudden, I'm getting text messages like, "Hey, you're in Aspen?" I said, "Yeah." They're like, "There's a coronavirus outbreak." And I said, "What is coronavirus? I don't know what that is." Like, everything's fine. Like, there's panic going on, and we didn't really even know. And then, moved on a couple of days later to a film festival in Durango, Colorado, and there was a lot of trepidation, a lot of fear going on of not knowing what's happening. Should people even go into a theater or not? Should the festival continue? But it had already started, so they didn't know what to do. They just kept moving forward. And, then at that point in time, we, had a lot of unknown factors going on. And so I left there, and I was ready to come back to the desert to present at CVEP. And I think it was supposed to be March 8th. And we were ready to basically.
For free, man.
What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. So I thought somebody was asking something. But when we literally the day before we were supposed to present, and we're going to tell businesses how to get online. And County of Riverside basically recommended that we shut down. And so we weren't able to have that presentation. We ended up coming back about a month and a half later and presenting online. Paul and I did. At that point in time, we had a pretty good turnout that was signed up in March that diminished quite a bit by April. I think a lot of people ended up coming to getting information. At that point in time, people were really hopeful that we're going to flatten the curve, that by summertime, everything was going to be okay and we're going to be on our feet again. And we got to summer. And guess what? There were no more answers. There's just sort of more chaos, more open, more closed. There's not a lot of direction of what's going on. And as businesses, it's incredibly frustrating because not only are you taking the toll of expenses, but how do you plan? What strategy do you apply? What are the tactics that you're going to do? How do you keep your employees engaged? How do you know if you're even going to be able to pay for your employees? How do you know if you're going to pay for rent? So all the stress that's like just continuously compiled has left a lot of businesses feeling really powerless. And I think the whole point of being an entrepreneur, so Gloria, obviously just getting your degree in entrepreneurship, it's about empowerment, right? It's about putting your resources in your hands and you being able to determine your own fate. It's having the control of your own destiny. Now, all of a sudden that's been flipped upside down, and we have government that's basically controlling what we can and what we can't do. So for us as digital marketers and as a digital company, we've seen a big boost in business, obviously, as we're trying to transition businesses to get them to engage online. It's still a battlefield that we can go into, that we can still connect with our audiences, we can still connect with our customers. So what our goal is today and throughout this series for the next 3 weeks is really to walk you guys by the hand and figure out what it is that you need for your specific industry. Each industry is going to have some particulars, but there are going to be some basics that are involved. And I think that the main thing that we want to make sure you guys are aware of is we're not here to give you a sales pitch. We're here to basically give you tools so that you can implement and that you can continue to do business. If we lose our small businesses, we lose the backbone of our community. If we lose that backbone of our community, right, we're basically just depleting serious resources of what our way of life is, especially as entrepreneurs. And we've got to find ways that we can fight back with technology and tools and strategies and tactics so that it's not just the big box stores that are staying open. It's how do we compete with them, right? And we're at a severe disadvantage right now because of policies that have been up and down, and we haven't had that certainty. So what our goal is really put those tools and put the power back into your hand and teach you how to engage so that you can stay in business and you can grow your business. And once things return to whatever that new normal is, that you're going to be able to have a new revenue stream and understand how to drive that home. So whether it's, somebody like Robert, you've got, the protein cookie, we've dealt with, clients in that sector as well. Kodiak Cakes was a big client of ours. We were able to grow their online presence. Whether we're getting into wealth and financial management or the real estate side of it, every aspect is going to come down to some of the basics. So real quick, how versed are you guys in digital technology and digital marketing? Do you guys feel that you're beginner level, or are you more advanced? I don't want to bore you, but I don't want to speak over your heads either.
I'll let you know that our team and at Morgan Stanley, we have a pretty robust digital presence.
Sure.
We get a lot of training from the firm as well as outside vendors. And, we early in March, all 70-some thousand or 90-some percent of the 70,000 Morgan Stanley employees around the world went digital, working from home. And the firm has been very successful. And our team locally here has always had a digital presence. So I've got a little, I've got some familiarity.
Okay. Everyone else more or less kind of with some familiarity?
I have a little bit. I mean, I post on Facebook, Instagram. Don't get that many followers, but I do a lot of educational stuff on there. So
okay. So we'll give you kind of just a quick overview. So I'm just going to share my screen and give you kind of a brief overview of just the internet and the basics of how the internet's working. As a company, Rook Digital, we really kind of pride ourselves on communicating and educating with our clients. We don't like to hide all the answers behind the curtain. We like to be able to bring that forward so that you guys can be empowered, so you have the knowledge, you can make informed decisions. If we have you as an informed client, you're going to be a better client for us. You're going to make better decisions. You're going to understand why we're recommending certain things. It'll make a lot more sense to you. So I'm just going to take a few minutes and just kind of give you an overview, and then we're going to drill down into some of the more specifics. And then through the course of the next couple of weeks, we're going to dive into more hands-on specific aspects. But having the basics of how the internet is working will give you an understanding of why we're doing what we're doing and how that's going to work and apply for your business. Okay? So I promise you, though, that this will not be a sales pitch. I'm not going to take your time up in that way. This is really something that CVEP reached out to us and said, hey, can you help? We've got to get our businesses engaged. We've got to get them online. And it's something, obviously, as a small business owner, I started in the .com era back in like 95. Very early on, I took a publication and we turned it digital. That time was like 1996. I remember I was at UCLA trying to sell my digital ads. And I told people, 86% of students at UCLA check their email at least twice per week. So that's when I got into the side of digital marketing and understanding that, at that point in time, that was a big number to have 86% of people checking email twice per week. Now I think 86% of people check their email probably twice per hour. So we've grown quite a bit in that time. And over the years, there's been, lots of changes, but there are principles of the internet that have never changed. It's the same reason, why the roads are still the same size that they are since the Romans, right? Nothing's changed much since then. The internet is the same thing. The infrastructure is built. We have to understand what that is to understand how it operates and how we apply our tactics and strategies. So I will go ahead and share my screen and get you guys through a crash course in the internet. You guys see that okay? All right. So we are an SEO-based company, which basically means search engine optimization. All of us go to Google, the grand Google machine. What we do is we type in what we're looking for, right? If I'm looking for protein cookies, I'm going to type in protein cookies, right? And the way we look at it from a client side is your product or service showing up when we type that in? You know, if yes, then great. If not, then we need to fix that. So again, I'm Rich Henrich. I'm the Vice President of Business Development for Rook. My partner, Paul Gonzalez, is going to join us right afterwards. He's our Vice President of Strategy. And I think, you know, the topics of the day really are going to be more or less about the internet basics and kind of the history of that. And then we're going to apply that basic knowledge into very specific areas over the next couple of weeks together. So if we look at, you know, sort of some of the history of the SEO, the big thing is remember once upon a time, the internet was a total mess, right? We couldn't find what we were looking for. And Google came along and really started to organize the cesspool of what was the internet so that we could actually find the things that we're looking for. We're looking for a solar panel. It generally meant that we're looking for a solar panel, probably a company that was located in the desert, not some company that was in China, right? And that was a problem in the early days. The main things that we're going to kind of look at is essentially what's in our control. We have a website. That's our on-page SEO. It's everything that goes on that page is about what we say we're about, right? So if you think of it, the on-page SEO aspect is going to be our resume. We say this is what our company is about, and we're going to share that information with you. The more information we can share, the better. A lot of times designers will want minimalistic designs. It looks pretty, it might win some awards, but it doesn't necessarily convert clients for you. It doesn't necessarily drive sales. Customers want information. Your website wants to communicate that information. If you don't have that, customers tend to bounce off. The other side of on-page SEO is that it's in our control. Off-page SEO is what other people are saying about you, right? Think of that as your references. So you can say that you're really great. Your resume looks great. You say, I'm the best company there is. Well, is that true or not true? It could be, but what do other people say about you? So think about the world of reviews, right? We've seen Yelp, we've seen Google reviews. There's all sorts of sites that are all about reviews. Why are they so popular? Why are they so powerful? Because it's about what other people say you're about that matters, not necessarily as much as what you say about. So the two factors when it comes to our website is really understanding the on-page and the off-page. The on-page is what we can control. That's our world. The off-page is not so much what we can control, but we have to develop a reputation so that people are aware that we do engage in business and services that we say we do, right? So when we look at those social signals, again, it's how many of you have one of these, right? We all do. How many of you take this and will say, I'm looking for a gym near me. I'm looking for a financial advisor. I'm looking for real estate. Whatever it might be, we go to that device and we type in those phrases, right? And we're also looking for reviews. So those aspects really tie in to overall success. And there's strategies and tactics we'll get into in a little bit. Google Maps, right? So that is the prime real estate that you could ever ask for, is getting in what we call the 3-pack maps, right? So when you see Google Maps pop up, is your business coming up in those 1, 2, or 3 slots? If not, let's see what's going on. Chances are it's going to go back to some of the social signals, some of the off-page SEO. And a lot of times it can come to on-page. Google's looking at, hey, do you even have a website? Are you following basic standards? If not, we can fix these things, but this is really the sweet spot. And Paul's going to go into a little bit more of that and really helping you guys understand, how do you compete where the most prime real estate is? Of course, in 1991, Al Gore invented the internet, and we have a joke in our industry. It's all about the Google algorithms, but we call them algorithms since we attribute it to his great genius. But in seriousness, Sir Tim Berners-Lee was at CERN, developed the World Wide Web in 1989. And why is this important? Because the whole purpose of the internet was all about categorizing research papers, right? You want to connect this researcher over here in Germany with a researcher in Los Angeles. They were working on similar things, and if they could come together, they could share information, we would advance research, and it would help the world in a much better, greater way. So ultimately, it started to connect universities, right? And so as these centers started to connect all over the world, right, then we developed directories out of that, right? We had, think back to the early days of Yahoo, right, as a directory, right? So we started to build things based on the offline world that we knew, like a Yellow Page directory, right? And over time, we've improved upon that as we see our habits, as we engage with technology and what we look for and how we phrase things. All right, so that was basically our 90s, Alta Vista, Lycos, all those guys. And then is organized by relevance, right? So is this relevant to my search? I'm looking for solar panels. It didn't say solar panels in the desert. It just gave me everything from solar panels from China to the Middle East to the UK to wherever it would pull in everything relevant to that search, which was helpful to an extent, but it was a mess to try to figure out what you're looking for, right? It's like going into a library without a librarian. Sure, you can find it, it's in there. Good luck. So the internet really was not so great with giving us search results, right? And then Google pops up sort of at the end of the 90s, and obviously now they are the most dominant force when it comes to searches, right? So about 75% of searches on the internet come through Google. The rest are basically going through Yahoo and Bing. Yahoo and Bing are basically, interconnected because it's the same engine. So you essentially have two sources. You have Google, you have Bing. Bing will account for about 25% of the searches. So most of what we're going to focus on will be centered around Google, because we want to fish where the most number of fish are, right? Does that make sense? So while these things will also apply to Bing, Bing does have a couple little interesting quirks to it. And we can definitely address that, later if you're really somebody that's big on Bing. But we're going to teach you the basics around Google because that's where most people are searching. So early on, it was very, very low quality, right? And then we had a guy named Larry Page who works for Google, develop PageRank. And what that means is your page has a rank over your competitors, right? And based on best practices and these factors of how much information is on your page, are you laying information out where it's easy to find? Can the Google search engine find you? Can the spiders crawl your site? All these little aspects add up to what ultimately gives you PageRank. And now it's sort of evolved a little bit beyond that. So PageRank is ultimately what we're after, right? It's when you go to do a search, are you coming up in the top 10 spots? Or are you going to end up being in a hole where no one's going to find you? So the Panda era came about, obviously lots more updates. We see continuous updates with Google more and more. But what we're going to look at is really the metadata, right? Your title, description, and keywords. So how many of you have seen this when you go to a website, right? So this is our structure, what we want to look for. Where do you do business? Los Angeles, Savannah, Coachella Valley is our, another one that we've added. Contact us, about us. These are the basics. So, what are we about? Rook SEO, SEO services and consulting, national and local, right? So if you're looking for national SEO services, will come up. If you say local, will come up. We're, the consulting side. So these are our keywords that we're looking for, right? And we'll teach you about what has to go in here for you as a business. And this comes down to your description and keywords, but we research that so that the keywords aren't necessarily so much what you would look for, but what are your clients looking for? What sort of weird phrases do they type in when they're trying to find your product or service? And oftentimes we'll have clients that, you know, end up with 10,000 different keywords, you know, and they'll have given us maybe 5 of what they think they are. But when you start to really look at linguistics and how behavior of how we look for things, or, you know, all of us call something that we know is the same thing, but we might call it something different. And so it's accounting for that so that we can actually find it. You know, this gets into like, you know, our, you know, essentially code, right? And little snippets of things. Now that we won't get too far into that, but just so you know, like this is, if you see it, this is what you're looking at. So when we look at on-page SEO, and we'll give you, of course, a workbook for this, so you don't have to feel like I'm blazing through this super fast to just give you the foundation. We're going to come back to it later. But, you know, we'll basically look at the H1 tags, the opening paragraph, body. It's just like writing a research paper ultimately. Why? Because Google was created around research papers. Right, and then on the back end, we're looking at, you know, image title tags of how you can optimize images, you know, how you put in these different tags so that people can actually search, if they're search based, image based, that your business can still come up. So the off-page stuff really comes down to one thing, and it's links, right? So one of the most powerful links that you can get to your business is going to come from a .gov or a .edu. Why is that? Because generally Google treats those as institutions that are there for the better good, right? They're not there to convince us of anything other than to provide the best information, right? So if Cal State University, San Bernardino, Palm Desert campus links back to your business and says, hey, these guys are the best at you know, corporate real estate, commercial development, right? That's going to help a ton, right? Again, think of that as ultimately it's going to be like your reference, right, of what somebody else says that you're about. And if you can get a government linking back to you, or you get an educational institution linking back to you, it's top notch. All right. And so things that we want to stay away from: blog networks, link farms, paid links. Oftentimes all of us will get bombarded. We have a business with somebody, usually from India, reaching out to us saying, hey, they can help us with rank. They're doing a lot of things that are spammy and dangerous, and it's kind of dark web stuff that we stay away from, because you can have success early on, maybe for about 3 to 6 months, and then once Google sees that it's not following best practices, they'll shut you down. You can be totally blackballed off of Google, and that's kind of a horrifying call when we get from businesses, and they're like, hey, can you help? All of a sudden, you know, we were at the top of the list, and now we're gone. And now we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars a week. You know, we don't know what to do. We're not getting any traffic. We're not getting any customers anymore. And we usually find what happened is they went with sort of a what we call black hat SEO, and they dabbled in the darkness, and they've paid the price for it. And in many times we can't get them back. We've literally got to start their business all over again online. So when we look at social signals, obviously, you know, shares, likes, all these things start to help. So, you know, if you're doing other aspects of, like if you're looking at Twitter, if you're looking at Facebook, if we're looking at Instagram, all those aspects help. Those are what we call social signals. All right. So I know that I went through that blazingly fast, and we're going to come back to it, but I just wanted to give you some basics of how the internet works. It basically comes down to, it was all set up around research papers. So we got to create everything on our site like it's a research paper. It was created to share and exchange information. So we want to make sure the information we have is something our customers want. If we give them what they're looking for, they're going to engage with our content a lot more. All right. And then it's Ultimately comes down to what's in our control. 25% is what we say we're about. 75% comes from what other people say we're about. All right, any questions on that? Hopefully the basics of that make sense. So if you walk away understanding that the internet was created to exchange research papers, and all the website is essentially is our research paper about our company, our product and services that we offer. And it's about structuring that in such a way that Google sees it as a research paper, right? Because when you type into the Google machine, you want to be able to find the information you're after. So it's no different. It's just research, right? We're all doing our research on a local level, right? And then there's difference between doing business locally and doing national. So when we look at, GMB or Google My Business listing, which Paul will get into a little bit later, that's local based, right? So we're going to focus a little bit of a mix of that, but we're probably going to lean a lot more into local since you guys are local based businesses. All right. Any other questions before I turn it over to Paul?
I got a quick question. You're talking about local versus national website presence. So basically, I just want to concentrate on the Coachella Valley. So I would have different SEOs than a normal company, or?
Yep. So we'd optimize, we'll walk you through how to optimize it just for Coachella Valley. I think on a protein cookie, you have great opportunities to go national, right? But you want to try to saturate your local market to the extent that you can. And then, we'll get into a little bit more hands-on, maybe next week or the week after that, and really start to do some analysis with you and your industry so you can get some good models to look at. So yeah, in the beginning, let's keep you focused with the resources concentrated where you are, and let's see what we can maximize out of that. Any other questions? All right, Paul, I will turn it over to you. I'm going to stop my share.
Wonderful. Thanks, Rich. Thank all of you for being here and giving us some time to share with you. What Rich just covered, like he said, he went through that really, really fast. That is a lot of what he just talked about is 5 or 6 hours of in-depth training, and you got it in about 20 minutes. So we'll go back, we'll recap some of that. The importance behind that is, well, let me put it this way. Right now, Google owns 90% of the internet. And Google's secret sauce, their algorithm, which keeps them ahead of every other search engine and most people coming back to them, is that, well, it's their secret sauce. We don't know everything that goes into making their decisions, but we know what a lot of the main factors are. For Google to keep their competitive edge, they're always testing and trying new things out. They make over 500 algorithm changes every month. 500 plus tweaks to that secret sauce that determine where are you going to show up? Are you going to be number one? Are you going to be number 300? And so understanding the structure of the internet and how it's built will give you a massive competitive advantage over everyone else in your industry. Now, looking at it and saying, man, that is a lot of changes to keep up with. Yes and no. Again, going back to what Rich just spoke about, the structure of the internet. About 70% of that structure is really at this point set in stone. It's not changing. If you know what that structure is and you can build out the appropriate structure that makes Google happy, you're way ahead of the competition. Then it's just minor tweaks and changes to bump you up to the top.
The question is, what are the most important things you guys are working on for your businesses in the digital world? What is it you're trying to achieve or need help with online that you haven't been able to do? If you could sit down and ask an expert, what would you want to know? Be thinking about that, because we want those questions so that we can really tailor our teaching to what you need. Again, like Rich said, this isn't to sell something. This is to give you hard, fast action items that you can take and put into play. So be thinking about that. But I'm going to cover a couple of things right here. For all of you that have cameras on, or if you want to chime in, let me ask you a question. How many of you would like Google to decide they like your business best and they want to join your team and promote you as much as they can over everybody else? Who here would like that to happen? Give me a raise of the hand. Okay. The whole goal of search engine optimization, digital marketing, is to figure out exactly how do you do that. What is Google after? What makes them feel like you're the best business, so that ultimately Google or Google's algorithm decides, hey, you know what? We like Robert's business best, or Wally's, or Bruce's, or Gloria's. We like what they're doing. They're the best at what they do in their area, in their market or industry. So we're going to team up with them, and we're going to send them all the people we possibly can. Okay, that's what we want to do. Now, there are two things that we need to cover quickly before we let you guys jump in with some more questions. Number one is basics. One thing that we have realized in talking with thousands of business owners since the pandemic broke out is that the basics are not being done. Okay, there are all kinds of strategies and tactics and fun things that you can do to push your business that are expensive, but there are also just very basic things that 99% of the people we talk to are not doing right now. Things that you can do yourself every day for free that have really big impact. Okay, so the basics. Number one, for local businesses, are you and have you claimed your Google My Business listing and optimized it, filled it out as completely as you can? That's number one. The reason I say that is because Google My Business listing for a local business is your most valuable tool. We'll talk about that in a second. But also, it is free. Doesn't cost you anything. A little bit of elbow grease and some work to pretty it up and to use it, and it is going to be the most powerful tool you have. Number two is, are you using social media? Again, it's free. The biggest, most effective social media tools right now are generally Facebook and Instagram. Are you using those to the full capacity that they give you for free, right? If you're not doing everything you can on those three platforms every day, the free tools that between Google, Facebook, and Instagram, you control 99% of the traffic on the World Wide Web. If you're not doing that, you need to step back and say, okay, how do I do that? We'll go into that in more depth. Now, the second thing, again, this applies more to the local business. Second thing is a little bit of a provocative statement to most people, and marketing companies hate it when I say this, but I'm going to tell you flat out, if you are a local business, your website is not your most valuable asset. Not at all. Your Google My Business listing is by far more valuable and more powerful for you than any other tool you have. Okay, let me show you just quickly why I would say that. Let me share this here. Okay, let me make that a little bit bigger. Here's a quick insight into the way Google works. If I jump in here and I do Wealth Advisor Palm Springs, which I believe, Janet, you mentioned you work in that industry. Right here, you see you've got a Google ad, a Google ad, a Google ad, a fourth Google ad. Right here, you finally get an organic listing, a website listing. But if you guys are looking closely, you see this is Yelp.com. It's a directory. It's not a local business listing. It's not your website. You're not showing up there. Okay. Then you get the Google question and answer boxes right here. Still no local website. Next, you get Google's Maps pack. Okay, right here, this is where Google My Business shows up. These 3 listings in any market, any industry, and in any location are going to get the lion's share of the new business. Okay, and remember, this listing is free. Eureka Wealth Management, their Google My Business listing, 100% free, didn't cost them a penny. Compass Rose Financial Planning and Investment Management, free. Edward Jones, free. They did not pay a penny for these listings. Yet, these 3 listings right here, for anybody in the Palm Springs area, that's who they're going to see right off the bat. Those are the first impressions. Now, there have been some studies done, and this is why showing up in the Max Pack and having your Google My Business listing here is so important. They have done a bunch of studies that show most people assume Google is showing you the very best companies on the first page of results. Okay, everything on here, these are the very best ones you can work with, right? They're also assuming the 3 showing up here in the Maps pack, whether it's financial planning or real estate or restaurants or what have you, are the very best. They're not taking the logical one step further and realizing they may be the best, but they may not be. The reality is they're the best at marketing. Okay, so again, this is a free tool that sets you you're right in the middle of the gold mine right there. Okay, this is Google My Business. Now, I want to be clear here. I am not saying that your website is worthless. I am simply saying for a local business, your website is worth less than your Google business listing. But you do need to use them in concert to help each other out. Okay. And then the third thing to really think about here is at this point in time, every business needs to be an e-commerce business. If you haven't already pivoted and realized, how do I use the internet to grow my business, then you need to start thinking about it right now. Those are going to be the big things. And for really big companies, Janet, you said something up front when Rich asked who feels like they have a good handle on digital marketing. And Janet, you mentioned that your company has a really strong presence online and they put you through a lot of information. Here is something you need to ask yourselves, everybody. Your company may have a very large presence, but do you individually have a large presence? Okay, because if you're one of, Edward Jones is a great example. If you're one of 200,000 Edward Jones financial advisors in the country, your name's not showing up, theirs is, but yours could be. It could be Janet with, I'm sorry, I forgot, I didn't write down the note of the company you work with, but it could be Janet showing up right here representing her company, right? So think about that. The free tools that you have, a Facebook business page, such as this right here, and I pulled up Kodiak Cakes because they're one of our clients, Rich mentioned. Do you have your own Facebook business page representing you individually, not your greater business, or if you're the business owner representing your business? Do you have your own free Facebook business page? And are you using all the tools they give you? Do you have your own free Google My Business listing? And are you using all of the free tools they give you? Those free tools can do an awful lot to catapult you to the next level, to keep you alive. We've spent the last year showing people, spending a lot of time showing people for free how to promote their businesses, and seeing a lot of people make that change and be wildly successful. And that's what we're going to do with you guys over the next few weeks. We're going to go more in depth into these free tools right here and show you some tricks and tips you can use to be effective. Probably quite honestly, we're going to show you how to be more effective for free, minutes a day on your own. This isn't going to become a full-time job for you. We're talking 20 or 30 minutes a day on your own. You will be more effective than 90% of the marketing companies out there you can hire. So we're going to show you that. We'll show you how to do that with Google My Business. We'll show you how to do that with Facebook and all of the business tools that they give you. And then we're also going to show you a few other things. Think of this as a teaser for next week, so you come back. Now, this is a fun one. Every time I run into somebody and they find out what I do, and they own their own business, all of them, which is pretty common, they all say, oh man, you know what? I've been doing this business for 15 years or 20 years. There's this new guy down the street that just came in. He's only been doing it for a year or two. He's not that good, but his business is blowing up. If I knew what he was doing, I wish I could figure that out. Okay. How many of you, again, give me a raise of hand into your camera. How many of you would like to be able to spy on your competitors, or, somebody in your industry that's really good, and get an inside peek at what their strategy is and what they're doing to drive that business? If that's what you would like to do, put up a hand. If you'd really like it, give me 2 hands. Okay. Yeah. Good job. Thanks, Bruce. We're going to talk about that with each one of these free tools, with Google My Business, with Facebook. We're going to show you a couple of places where the information on their strategy and how they're bringing in all of those leads, it's there if you know how to look. Okay, the average Joe doesn't know where to find these things, but we're going to show you so you can get that competitive advantage, and say, you don't have to recreate the wheel. If they're doing something that is working really well, copy it. Put your own spin on it, apply your expertise, and we'll show you how to use that to really take off and just make your business blow up. Now, we're just about out of time, a few minutes here to go, but we really want to get from you again, what questions do you have individually? What are you working on, or what do you need to figure out? Where could you use a little help from us live to fix a couple of things, or to show you something? What is it you need with digital marketing that we can talk more specifically about for you guys in the upcoming weeks, along with the information we've already got planned? So let me jump out of the screen share here, but please jump in and let's hear what it is you guys would like to know.
Me personally, I'm with a 5,000 person firm, and I'm a lonely soldier out here all by myself. And all of the marketing is done out of Chicago and Toronto. So for me to be able to even be allowed to to use the Google My Business, I'm going to have to check on that, because it's a fabulous idea, but I just don't know whether or not it's going to work for me. And the other thing is, there's anybody that's in the valley. Is anybody here looking at that next door? Has anybody used that? I have no idea if it's worked or not. Robert, you're muted right now.
Yeah, I use it for my local neighborhood just to keep in touch, but I haven't really advertised or anything on there. It's sort of like it's like Facebook. It's pretty similar.
I'm not a Facebook guy, but LinkedIn I use a lot. I've looked up both Paul and Rich here this morning, and
you've seen how outdated my LinkedIn is.
How behind we are
there in years.
I love the fact that one's in Utah and one's in New Mexico. Where are you guys?
I'm in Utah, Provo, Utah.
And Rich?
Today I am in Savannah, Georgia. So I live in Indio, so my house is in Indio, but my dad is elderly. He's here, and I've got a client in the tourism sector. So Savannah Tourism is my client here. So
Your idea about being able to use Google My Business, it's been very difficult for me to be able to get entrenched in the local neighborhood, and I've been here almost 2 years. So I think if I'm allowed to do that, that's one step for me that would be very helpful.
Okay, excellent. Now we get kind of a mixed bag. It depends on the firm that you work with. Some of them are more than happy for you to go out and say, yeah, go ahead, whatever you want that'll promote you and generate business for us, great. Others say absolutely not. Yet others are kind of a mix. They say, yes, we'll let you do it, but here are the guidelines you need to follow. Here's our meeting guidelines and certain things. Find that out if you can over the next few days, and then we'll give you the best information we can, and find out also about a Facebook business page. Okay. Those in conjunction will help you break into your local market and give you a lot more reach than you've probably been able to find so far.
Yep.
Okay. Who else has questions or specific things they'd like help with?
I kind of got one. I'm actually on Google My Business
Okay.
on both my businesses, and I was thinking of we currently have a website for the cookie company, but I may not renew that, but I'm thinking of doing a new website. But you're telling me a website is not as valuable as Google My Business. So before I go spending a lot of money, I'm like, kind of want to get some info on that.
Yeah, let us help you where you have budget to spend. Let's make sure you're putting that in the right place. It's going to get you faster results.
Yeah. All right.
Right. Now, again, keep in mind, I'm not saying a website is worthless. It's just worth less than your GMB. Now, where yours is a little different, it may have more of an e-commerce focus, then, that may be the direction to go and the easiest way to push it, because your protein cookies, you're saying, yeah, it's a local market here, but I mean, with the flip of a coin, it could be a national market. It's not harder for you to ship across town than it is to ship to Florida. And we've got a lot of experience. Like Rich mentioned, one of our clients was the protein cookie company. So we have a few things we can probably share with you there. But yes, start expanding what you're thinking about, but thinking more. You mentioned you're on Facebook and Instagram and doing posts there.
Yes.
A lot of free tools in there that you can use to promote that. And again, push your reach. Find more people that are probably interested in what you have, but you haven't been able to reach yet because you just may not know the steps. We'll get into that for you.
Okay.
And all of these tools, what we're trying to direct you towards as far as strategy and tactics is meet your customer at the point of purchase, right? If you know that they're getting ready to make a purchasing decision and there's the indicators that are out there that we'll share with you, we want to make sure that your product or service is in front of them at that moment, right? That's the goal, that you're just not randomly out there. And so Facebook, Instagram, those things help, but oftentimes they're more on the social, branding side. It's more PR aspects rather than, hey, this person is ready to engage and do business now. You tend to then start scrolling through Facebook to find what you want to buy. Generally not, but those tools can also give you a lot of data and a lot of analytics that help us find exactly the behavior that they're performing, so we know how to position and target to them.
Excellent. Okay, who else has some specifics you'd like us to touch on in the following weeks?
Can we get your emails, guys? So if we think about it, we can send you an email before next week.
Absolutely.
I'll go ahead and forward you guys their information so you have some direct contact with them.
That'd be terrific.
Perfect. Okay.
I'm not that sharp. It takes me a while to think about this.
I'm not sure I believe that. But okay. Keep that in mind. Again, we really want to tailor this to your specific needs. We want to show you, the tools, the free tools on Facebook and Google My Business are pretty impressive. There's a long way you can go before you need to spend any money or much at all to at least get the ball rolling, to build up that momentum. That's what we want to show you how to use. And again, and how to use those tools and do it effectively, you're probably going to do better marketing for yourself than 90% of the marketing companies out there you could hire. I mean, quite honestly, we're going to show you some good stuff. So keep working on it. Think about things you need while you're going through the next few days. If something comes to mind, you're working on a problem and it pops in your head, oh, I should have asked them this, or will that help me? Whatever, write it down. And when Augustin sends out the information, shoot us that email and we will include specific information, action items, and steps you can take regarding that question you had. So we want to give you the best information we can to drive your businesses forward. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I want you guys to know that this is not a sales pitch for us. This is us being part of the community and giving you tools and resources so you can succeed. You know, when we can lift up all of our small businesses together in the community, we'll all do much better by it. And so just know that we're not just gonna present and leave you on your own. Please do follow up with us. We want to help. We're going to be there to help. We'll walk you through it. We'll take the time individually if we need to. 3 weeks from now, you guys should all have the tools that we're talking about in your hands and know how to use them. All right. Then once you get down the road, you start, doing better. If we can help you out later, great. The last time we did this in April, we had a guy who, believe it or not, was a restaurant consultant. Right? Probably the worst possible job you could have in this economy. Right? And he said, can you guys help? And we're like, wow, I don't even know if we can help with that one. We said, okay, well, let's just follow these basics, follow these steps. He booked 2 clients in the Coachella Valley as a restaurant consultant during the pandemic. Right? So
it only took a couple of weeks too.
Took him a couple of weeks. He became a great evangelist for us. So just know that these techniques, they do work, and we want to make sure that you have those tools, and Bruce, in your case, you might have a corporate entity, that's kind of being restrictive. If so, let us know. We'll figure out another way. There's always a workaround to give you a pipeline for lead list.
All right. I think you're muted.
So, Wally, any questions from you?
No, I mean, you guys really know what you're doing. I've been in the internet world since '95 as well, and when there were 10,000 servers in the world, as they say. So I've seen a lot of things change. Where I'm at right now is what I've been deploying for 2-3 years isn't working. And I think I've not positioned myself correctly. So after spending a couple of years out here, I feel like, I don't know, but I feel like I have to pivot and maybe pivot toward social advertising for TV campaigns. I see a lot of small businesses out here still advertising on local television. I'm not sure how many of them also have social campaigns that they do in conjunction. So I'm kind of thinking of pivoting that way. So any thoughts about that, which is kind of different than where you're at, but any thoughts around that I would appreciate, because that's where I'm going. I got to reposition myself and pivot.
Sure. We can help you with that.
Yeah, we'll actually talk about a few things regarding Facebook and Instagram that can help you make that pivot, let you move in that direction and test it effectively for free to determine, okay, is this the right direction? If it picks up, great. Then you can pour more steam into it. But yeah, we'll cover a few of those as we talk about the different tools available in Facebook and Instagram through social media to make that move for you.
Thank you.
Laura, Janet, Gloria, Al, anyone else?
Augustine, thank you for putting this together.
Thank you guys for joining our webinar. Rich, Paul, thank you very much for all the information you guys provided and giving us your time.
Yeah, and I think the best way is just reach out to us throughout the week. Send us emails, because it's your time as much as it's our time. But together we got to work together. So if we can make the time more productive, send us your questions in advance, and we'll work with you throughout the week. Okay, don't wait just till we have the next session. Don't feel like you have to.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.